Good morning and welcome to Presence of Light with Charlie Riverman. It is my honor and pleasure to be here this morning with each of you and share from my heart to yours messages which help us all learn and become deeper entrained within each other's hearts. And with that, good morning, Lisa. But you're the precious one, my dear. As each of us are precious. And today's topic is going to be joy and how we need to express that joy and step into a deeper trusting of ourselves to allow us to express that. Let me introduce to you all my crystal skull joy, who decided she wanted to be here. She's just an amazing being. She's a blend, a perfect balance of masculine and feminine energy. And when I first received her, it was he, and his name was Jamal. And then as I sat with her, she became Yamil, which is feminine. And I was guided to have a divine marriage of my masculine and feminine energies. And joy became joy. It was the blending of those divine masculine and feminine energies, which created her name and a journey for me, which I've been on for quite a while now. And that balancing of masculine and feminine energies is important. And one day we'll step into that field as well, especially now that the energies of the universe are supporting that rising within us to embrace ourselves as complete. Good morning, Cheryl. The interesting part of this morning was I woke up at 4:52 without really knowing what I was going to talk about. And I woke up to the sound of birds and wind chimes, and my cat, who likes to roam the house at 4 in the morning and meow. Anyway, I was laying there and listening to how the birds were, just chittering and talking, and they always seem so happy. Doesn't mean that they're not always happy, but they had so much to communicate to each other, and it was still dark. And the wind chimes, it was the wind. The wind was speaking, and normally we hear the wind, which we do, but when it hits the chimes, it brings out this harmonious sound. And it was really what I felt was joy. And so that was the original intention for today's talk, was to wake up and recognize that joy is abundant in the world around us. And it began my thinking of how often we separate ourselves from that, and we separate within ourselves, and we don't trust that we're worthy of joy. And how sad is that for when we look around the world, we see all of this sadness, all of this pain, all of this chaos, this suffering. And where is the joy? And it's there, but many of us are not expressing it anymore. We've become buried, and we've become untrusting of others, and we've become fearful. And so this began my journey this morning of delving into what it was all about. So I look up angel numbers, and 452 has three numbers. It's 4, 5, and 2. And it's all about divine life purpose and our choices. Interesting. And no matter how you mix those number up, 4, 5, and 2, whether it's 254, 452, 542, they all have the same energy patterns. And they're really about honesty and integrity. They're about patience. They're about truth. They're about life changes, adventure, personal freedom, individuality, opportunity, kindness, balance and harmony, cooperation, consideration, faith and trust. Faith and trust in serving our divine purpose. That now starts to get a little deeper. And the three key words in this all of these numbers was faith, trust, and gratitude. And as I thought about those, I realized that how we have not trusted ourselves to really express our joy. And that comes from a long relationship with people in our lives and situations in our lives that we made choices and they didn't pan out very well for us. And we took it to mean that we were not worthy, or we were not good enough, or nobody wanted to hear that, or we were crazy. Whatever, we thought of ourselves was really a dark spot in our lives. And we covered over the natural joy we held as children. When we look at children playing in the world, what do we see? We see amazing freedom, an amazing expression of how there's no inhibition. There's no questioning, can I laugh? Should I laugh? There is no expression of, is this right? Is this wrong? Children are free, and unfortunately now children do not have as long a time frame to be free and to express that joy. And we look at now children in schools who are perhaps even in 3rd and 4th grade who are worrying about being shot in their schools. 3rd and 4th grade, that's a burden. That's a really sad situation that we've come to this point in humanity where we are now forcing children to hide within themselves. What we're looking at in the world today is an expression of that happening over thousands of years. And people have been slowly and steadily losing their joy. And I'm not talking about, in happiness in the moment or, glee at a situation. I'm talking about within our hearts, the joy of being alive, the joy of being here with the birds and the wind, the joy of expressing ourselves on this planet as amazing beings of power. So I've written down a few things here this morning as I was adventuring with this journey within myself, and realized that within me there's a lot of distrust. And I'm not just distrusting people outside of me, I'm distrusting myself. I'm not being open and honest with myself. I'm not making choices for myself that align with the inner child in me, the child that was that saw things differently in the world as it does today. And I look at the suffering in the world and how so many of us have lost that. And it's time we bring that forth. We stand in that divine space and bring forth a little more joy. So that's the relationship. The wind, the birds, the cat, you, me, all of life are here in essence to express ourselves and see ourselves in each other. And the part that's missing is I don't see much joy. And we're not going to see much joy until each of us retrain our minds to say, I am worthy of joy. I am worthy of expressing myself. I have value. I have something to bring forth to the world that makes life a song, like the birds sing. Who knows what they're singing about? They may not be singing about anything, but they're singing, and they're expressing themselves in a harmonic vibration that resonates with the trees, with the plants, with all of life. And this is what we need to do now in these days that we are moving through. And we're being called to, divinely called from our highest self to do this. This is not something that's just a fantasy or a wish. Each one of us, each one of you, I'm sure, are recognizing that you have something to say that's positive. We can all talk negative. If you look at Facebook and social media, this is why I refuse to put things that are in a negative context. If it's something that's a situation that needs to be looked at or addressed that is sad or distasteful, I try to put it in words or try to put a positive twist on it, or a question to people to take an action towards it, to heal it, or to offer prayer or blessings for it, or for those who are going through it. There's always a positive side to look at, and we need to start focusing on that more closely. If we are going to bring this divine masculine and feminine together, we will realize that the essence of that division, that original division of our divine feminine and masculine, was all about distrust and not trusting that we as a complete whole being could appreciate life in a human form. And we thought maybe it would be better if we separated ourselves and express it individually. And it's been manipulated, and it's been distorted, and the power of the masculine has overpowered the feminine, only because it lost its ability to trust itself and really dig deep into an intimate level within itself to express joy without power, without forcing it on somebody. And so this is what we see in the world, this forcing of things upon each other. That's not freedom. That's not empowering. That's very disdainful And each of us are suffering as a result of it on some level. So the key for us in trust and joy is communication, better communication. If we can trust ourselves and allow ourselves to feel free to express joy and then go out and express that, we'll find that our communication network begins to expand and broaden, and people resonate more with us. If we go into the supermarket with this frown and this scrunchy face, people will treat us with a frown and a scrunchy face. But if we go to the store and we smile, we're kind, we bring that goodness, the divine self is good. It's all about goodness, and it comes from within us. And so as we do that, if we bring it forth, we can share it with others, and that lifts them to the point where they begin to trust us. Of course, there will always be some who don't trust us. There are some who live the life, don't trust a happy person. How sad is that? There's hope for them as well. And every act of kindness that comes out of our joy, our inner joy, allows them to get a taste of what they're missing. And they're not missing it because anyone has taken it away from them except themselves. So too, like us, we are the ones who rain on our parade. And we've got to stop this. We've got to embrace the light in ourselves. Much like the sun in the sky, the light in the sky. I'm wearing yellow in honor of the sun. We've not seen sun for so many days, and we've had snow and rain, which I love. I mean, it fertilizes everything. It's wonderful. And the birds still sing through all of that. The rain, the snow, the cold. So should we. Be more like the birds. And trust true joy. That joy that we had as children before we were damaged by many who loved us and did not know what they were doing. Again, most of my talks are my own revelations within myself as I go through this journey and share them with you. And we have to trust ourselves first in order to express true joy. And that comes from just being our goodness, our self from the heart. And so I'm not seeing anybody on the sidelines, but that's okay. Sometimes my computer works and sometimes it doesn't. That's okay. So bless you all who are here. It says I have 8 comments, but I don't see that. And I don't dare fiddle around with it because I'm a menace. and that's okay because I know I'm a menace with electronics, and sometimes it's just better to just sit quietly and not play too much with stuff that you don't know that much about. Anyway, so I wrote that little verse above as the last moment before I came online, that each of us are so fearful, coming from a lack of self-trust, and beneath all that fear lies our joy, ready to be seen and felt and heard. And I want you to feel that and think about that this week and find those places within you that are fearful and find the source of those. Because this is our journey right now, is to go deep within ourselves, to become very intimate with ourselves. Intimate on a level that we've avoided most of our lives. And we've created this falseness, this ego that says, oh, I'm this, that, and the other thing. And yet all the while is just covering all of this fear, all of this pain, all of this damage that we've endured in our lifetimes. And be gentle with yourselves as you do that. So the second part is, where does joy live within you? And this is the quest. Where does joy live within me? And what makes me joyous? What triggers that smile on my face? Is it a baby who's smiling? Is it a small animal just being playful? And start to learn and reconnect with those moments in your own life that were similar. And know that in the midst of chaos and in the midst of all of this collective insanity, there's a light, there's a sun, there's a bright golden light that shines upon us and shines within us and shines forth from us if we'll only remove the clouds. And so fear and all of this emotional baggage and damage is nothing more than clouds. It's darkness that appears momentarily and then can be lifted. And that's a song of hope for me and a song of hope for you. And can we find that joy within us? Can we quietly search for it? You don't have to share it with everybody, just an inner journey. And ask it to be revealed to this conscious mind. This conscious mind that is now being fed by all sorts of mechanisms whose intention, and only intention, is to keep us fearful, to keep us small, to keep us from being who we truly are as the divine children of that which we call a God. And it doesn't matter what religion or what faith you may practice. The reality is that we are, the source of our being is a creator. We have been created. We didn't just wake up one day as Adam and Eve or whatever your creation story is and appear, and then each of us make these decisions in our lives. We have been guided through a spiritual connection that cannot be broken, that can never be broken. It can only be covered. We can only be hidden away from it. And it's done through the control of our minds. And we need to rise above that to become the miracles in the world. Tiny little miracles. Tiny little miracles that make somebody smile, make somebody feel good, empower somebody to do something that they didn't think they could do before, to encourage each other, to embrace each other. And in doing that, we're really embracing ourselves. We're really doing that to ourselves in that moment, because you can't give what you don't already have. And we start to learn, and in this practice, that I have this power. I am not powerless. Much like the wind, much like the birds, they are not powerless. And they sing a song of joy. And they sing it naturally because they don't have this human brain that makes up stories about it and calls it something else, or hides it, or puts it over here, or places it here, there, and places things on top of it so that it can't be found. That it's more important that I do this, that, and the other thing than I be happy, than I be joyful. And there is a difference between happiness and joy. True joy comes from within, just like this crystal skull, whose name is joy. And when people hold her, they go into like states of bliss, and they just say, like, because that's what she radiates, she radiates joy. I didn't do that to her. I didn't do that. It is inherent in the crystalline structure of this crystal, which was carved into the shape of a skull. Just as you are the crystal that was carved into the shape of a human. Be the joy that you are. Embrace the world and each other. Look into the eyes of another and see the beauty of yourself. And if you find in the eyes of another distrust, know that that distrust is also within you. And it needs to be removed there first. And in doing so, you will look into the eyes of that person again at some later date and no longer be distrustful, but see joy. We're all living in a world of illusions. As the Course in Miracles stresses so amazingly, and was one of the hardest lessons of my life, to realize that the illusions that I bring forth out of my mind can have the power to alter me into something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And yet I have been them. I'm not proud of them. But I also understand that that point in time in my life, I didn't know any better. Because I had listened to everybody else who kept keeping me from being who I truly am and from acting from my heart as I wanted to and as I did as a young child. Be the joy that you truly are. Change the world one moment at a time. I was going to talk about Earth Day, and then I realized how more important to all of Earth is us coming back into joy. And who was it that brought me that message but Mother Earth through the birds and the wind? We are all one. We are all one creation. And we have never been anything else. With that, I bless each of you. And as you remember Mother Earth this weekend, my message is carry Earth Day in your hearts every day, not just one day. And as you free yourself from this distrust of yourself, I want to see your joy. I want to hear your joy. I want to hear your laughter. I want to hear your songs. I want to read your poetry. I want to read your stories. I want to see your smile. Because I want to see myself. And right now, when I look out in the world, I'm not liking who I see in me. Bless you. I love you. I thank you. I definitely respect each and every one of you. And know that together, heart to heart, we will change all of human consciousness. Have a great week. Hope the sun is shining where you are. And if not, if it's raining, bless the rain, because we do need the water. So it's always a positive thing. I know it doesn't do much for our mental state sometimes, but be the joy and learn to trust yourself. Thank you. Have a great week.